Welcome, guys. Today is November 22nd, and today I'm going to analyze what happened to the Senate post 2020 election. The Democrats, according to the polls, had a substantial lead, and according to them, were in a really good spot to take back the Senate. But as we know, that didn't happen. There was a lot of ticket splitting, people that voted for Biden, but at the same time also voted for a Republican down the ballot. And let's begin with what actually happened. In this election, the blue states were Oregon, Illinois, New Hampshire, all these regular ones, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware. Yeah, and all of these states went 15+% for the Democrats. hmm While for the solid red states in the Senate, those were Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, all these regular ones that everyone expected them to be red, except for one: Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Alabama. Many thought it would be competitive to some degree, but as it seems, it wasn't at all. Tommy Tuberville, former football coach, won it by over 15% against an incumbent, Democrat though. And there have been some, some interviews with him that shows that he doesn't have a lot of knowledge around politics and history, like him saying World War II was fought against socialism and not knowing the basics of the three branches of government. Yeah, that's Tommy Tuberville. Okay, a bit off topic. I went. Sorry. Likely blue states. Those were Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, and Virginia. One of the only few takeaways here is that surprisingly, New Mexico was a lot tighter than what most people thought. The difference only being 7% between the Republican and the Democrat, and an almost safe state in the presidential level. While for the likely GOP, there was lots of surprises, not immense, but yeah, you'll see. So Mississippi, Texas, Alaska, Kansas, all of these were likely GOP, and that's how they went in this election. Iowa, yeah, Montana, South Carolina, and Maine, all of these went red. So this is where things went quite really wrong for the Democrats in this election. Out of the previous 8 I just mentioned, at least 4 of them, and maybe even more, were contested, like Maine, South Carolina, Iowa, and one could argue Minnesota as well. Montana as well. The main one here is Maine. Every single poll had Sarah Gideon leading Susan Collins, the incumbent, by 5, 10, or even 15% in one, I think. And Susan Collins is and was an extremely unpopular incumbent. But truth be told, this was one of the most shocking results in this election. And by far, I think the biggest out of margin by the polls. Let me go to Kansas. Barbara Bollier didn't have a good chance here at all. Maybe the GOP candidate wasn't Marshall, but even then it would have been a humongous uphill battle for her. Iowa, another surprising one. This one, many thought it would have been a coin toss, and throughout the whole campaign it flip-flopped by the polls. But not only did Joni Ernst win, but she won confidently by, if not, I'm not mistaken, 7%? Around that margin, yeah, 7%. And let me go to Montana. And Montana, which was thought it would be way closer, since it was a really good candidate against incumbent here. Steve Daines won here by 10%. Yes, 10%. And retained the Senate seat for the GOP. In Texas, MJ Hager didn't have a big chance here, or any chance at all, to win. But she lost by an even bigger margin than what most people think, or thought, I should say. around 10% again. Alaska, an interesting one for me since technically Democrat Al Gross was a really good candidate against the Republicans, but lost again by almost a safely 13-point margin. And for the biggest money waster here, was South Carolina. Sadly, they wasted a lot of money here against Lindsey Graham, who won and retained his seat by 10%. And there have been a lot of major allegations against Lindsey Graham, stating that he tried to convince government officials to throw away legal votes. If this is does happen to be true, which I do believe it is, then you just know there's a lot of blackmail against Lindsey Graham. And if these allegations are in fact true, then we could likely see an impeachment hearing for him, or something to that degree in the future for him. Okay, so as you can see, this is 49 for the Republicans, 46 for the Democrats in the solid and likely races. Now, where things got really interesting in this election, the lean seats for the Democrats were Arizona, expected, and Michigan. This one was really surprising. Michigan almost went to the GOP. I remember when it was at 98% counted, and the votes made it look like John James was going to win. But thankfully for the Democrats, they were able to beat him just barely by almost 2%, since the votes were in heavily Democratic parts. This race shouldn't have been competitive, and shows you how troublesome this Senate election was for the Democrats. Well, in Arizona, this was expected. Mark Kelly was one of the few people that was able to outrun Joe Biden in the Senate, and it was a bit tighter than what most people thought. But changing demographics are helping him and the Democrats in the Sun Belt, and they're likely gonna become bluer, these states right here. While for the last and only lean state for the Republicans, that was North Carolina. Another place where the Democrats fell short, North Carolina. Throughout the election, Kyle Cunningham, the Democrat, was polling around 2 to 5% safely. But then, he had an affair scandal, and if Joe Biden wasn't able to win North Carolina, that just means that Cunningham wasn't able to ride Joe Biden's wave. And Cunningham wasn't able to beat incumbent Thom Tillis. Now for Georgia, this is where the election stands right now, and how it stood. There are two races in Georgia that are going to be decided in January, but you can see how the Republicans do have a slight advantage, an advantage at the moment. So here we go. So in Georgia, Loeffler's seat is by far the weakest, since she's the weakest candidate. She wasn't elected and was assigned to this Senate spot, while Warnock, who she is facing, is the best candidate by the Democrats here. And I do believe that race will likely be razor thin for sure. Yep, Warnock. This is due to many reasons. Stacey Abrams' work with black turnout, Obama's endorsement, Loeffler's scandal, and also the fact that Warnock, Reverend Warnock, is religious and will help get those white voters for him. Warnock has a way better chance than his fellow Democrat in the other race, Ossoff. So Jon Ossoff has done okay. He has a bright future ahead of him as well. But as seen by how much ticket splitting we saw, there's going to be a lot of Warnock and Perdue voters this time, since both of them are just the most likable and popular candidates. Yep, to them, even though Perdue has said some not great things about Kamala Harris. Perdue is just more known at this state. He's just more popular here, while Ossoff is not as well known. And the problem for Ossoff, he will be a white guy trying to convince black voters to not vote for the other white dude. And it's just way more likely that Perdue wins here, and I expect that. But if I had to pick right now, I would say that Democrats win here narrowly, and the Republicans probably win here maybe like that. But there's still time to see what things happen. So people dismiss that since Trump is not going to be on the ticket, it's going to be an easy deal for the Democrats. I highly disagree. Republicans will turn out equally, if not more, especially since they don't want to see Chuck Schumer become Senate Majority Leader. And Republicans don't want to see Democrats pass progressive legislations. And so the Senate and how the race happened in November has Democrats at 48 versus the Republicans 50. This gives at the moment Republicans a weak control of the Senate, but this is control nonetheless, which isn't too bad for the Democrats. This isn't too bad since it will only require either one or two Republicans to switch sides to help pass only moderate bills. Overall, everything was looking good for the Democrats before Election Day, but after a humongous failure by the pollsters again, even worse than 2016, it underestimated Republicans and ticket splitting. And Biden's presidency will be extremely different whether he has a Republican Senate or a Democratic Senate. And yeah, that's it for today. That's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching my Senate analysis, and see you next time.